What's up, y'all? I'm still out here at the range, as you can see back behind me. Been out here all day having a whole lot of fun doing some really interesting testing. A couple of them good, a couple of them not so good, but this one right here should be another really good one for my 40 Smith & Wesson guys. So as you can see, the jelly contraption's out here earning its keep. We got the chrono, we got 2 blocks of gel. Now this far block has got quite a few tracks in it. I've done some interesting tests, like I said, in that one. This one up in the front's completely clear, all except for one pesky 9mm failure that we had sneak into it, but I think that shouldn't get in the way of any of it. We should have plenty of room to get this done. And as you can see, like I always like to mention, I am using a heavy clothing barrier here. It's got the layer of denim, fleece, and 2 layers of cotton t-shirt material. So like I said, it's 40 Smith & Wesson time again, and we got some fancy ones to try out today. As y'all can see, we got some more of this Liberty Ammo Civil Defense. If y'all hadn't seen, I just did a 45 Colt test with these out of a couple of different length judges. Those things really impressed me out of those judges. With this 40 Smith & Wesson, it's got 60 grains, 2,000 feet per second. This stuff right here is going to be some mean stuff, I believe. Really nasty stuff. Now, personally, I'm not completely sold on this civil defense stuff. I don't know why. I don't know about it completely yet. Everything I've seen, it's been pretty good performance. Don't get me wrong there, but I don't know. I'm on the fence on it still. If y'all aren't familiar with this civil defense stuff, it's really light for caliber. As you can see, all of it is like that. Very light and very fast. What it is, as you can see, it's a really deep cavity hollow point. It's actually a solid copper fragmenting round. This thing breaks off basically right here at the top of the case. All of that breaks off and fragments all the pieces, and then your base continues on forward. But like I said, I expect this to be some pretty nasty stuff in 40 Smith & Wesson. I've also tested it in 10 and 45 ACP. The 10 was moving 2,400 feet per second, so I think this 40 is going to be every bit of that 2,000, especially out of this one here, this Glock 22 with the 4.5-inch barrel. And then for the other one, we got a smaller one here. We got the Glock 27 with the 3.5-inch barrel. So like I always mention, if you've got a 23, then you're going to be right there in the middle of these as far as size, and probably right there in the middle as far as performance that you see. So this stuff ought to put up some big numbers on the chrono and put on a nice show in the gel. But let me get it set up and let's check them out. All right, let's get us some speeds on these fast boys. I'm going to try to get a 5-round average from each one, starting with the Glock 27 first. So the short boy first here. Remember, the box is saying 2,000. I don't really expect it out of this, but it'll probably be pretty close even out of this from what I've seen from these things. Hopefully, I don't have any reading problems. That's the big mystery here. Got 1931. This stuff is so loud. 1939, and you can see that shock wave. I don't know how well y'all can see it in the camera, but that shock wave actually shakes, puts a really good shaking on those wooden dowels I've got up there. This stuff is just moving so fast. You got such an energy and shock wave going with it. And it is loud, like I say. But now, as far as the recoil, very mild recoil. So what was that, 3 of them? We close to that 2,000. That was 3 of them. 1947. I mean, so loud, y'all. It's really loud. 1887. And 1913, so it's moving on out this little 3.5-inch. Let's check that average. All right, so our 5-round average right there was 1,923 feet per second out of a 3.5-inch Glock 27, y'all. This stuff is just moving on. I mean, it's moving on. So it was right there all over that 2,000 feet per second. I'm pretty sure that that 22 is probably going to exceed the 2,000, but let me get it set up and let's check it out. All right, let's see what it does through this 4.5-inch 22. I'm almost positive it's going to exceed that 2,000 just based on what we got out of that 3.5-inch. Got 2063, 2070, 2034, 2015, and 2066. So I think every single one of them was over 2,000. Let's check that average. All right, so our 5-round average that time was 2,049. So sure enough, it exceeded what the box said. And if you remember on that G27, it was 1923. So you talking about what? 126 feet per second faster. Is that right? Yeah, 126 feet per second faster from this extra inch of barrel. So 126 feet per second, that's not quite 10%. Either way, I don't think it's going to mean much difference in the gel. I think this stuff is going to be some nasty stuff in the gel. But let me get this reset and y'all know what time it is. All right, y'all, it's Filthy 40 jelly time. I'm gonna put one round from each barrel into the gel. We're gonna start with this G27 first, the 3.5 incher. Let's see what we do here. Hopefully this stuff has a mind of its own. Once all the stuff breaks around the outside, that base kind of starts curving and swerving. So I'm gonna try to be a little stingy, but not too stingy with the block, because I wanna try to get one more test. Let's see. All right, that should have actually been a good one, but it took up a lot of room. Let's go see what we got. All right, y'all, it's looking like it always does down there with this civil defense stuff. So let's try one out of this 22. I really put that thing a little further down than I wanted. So I'm gonna press my luck with this 22. It's either gonna go where I want it and leave me some room for another test, or it's gonna go crazy and I'm gonna have to put around and this is gonna be the last test of the day. But either way, let's see what happens here. That was absolutely perfect. I hope that thing stayed in there. Let's go check it out and see what we got. All right, y'all, let's check out what we got down here. I can just tell you exactly what we got down here is absolute filthiness, just absolute nasty filthiness right here. Just like I already said, these things perform just like they always do. As you can see, the one up here on the top, this one right here was the G27. As soon as it comes in, just massive fragmentation. I mean, that thing just dumps a pile of energy, goes all to pieces, immediately just loses every single bit of that whole entire rim around that cavity there, and then your centerpiece, the base keeps on trucking through this first block. Like I said, now this one curved, you can see once it loses that outer material, it just gets so out of balance that I've seen them go all over the place, up, down, left, right. You can't really tell where it's going to go, but every single time just about they hit that 12-inch mark or better. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen them less than 12, but they always hit that 12. The problem for me is, and I don't know why I have the hang up about this, but is that lightweight, that really, really lightweight. Even though, like I say, you know, it got the penetration easily, even through that cloth. These things don't care anything about that cloth. And the big benefit is, you know, you got all this energy dump right here, and you might say, oh, well, that's not, it's kind of shallow. But, you know, you got to think about that. You're right there on that magical line where your permanent wound cavity or temporary wound cavity becomes a permanent wound cavity. You're right there at that rifle threshold. So that's some pretty potent stuff. Like I say, I'm just, for whatever reason, I'm just funny about it. But either way, again, on the bottom, same story. This one was out of the 22. As you can see, I think this is one of the only times I've ever caught every single fragment. Both of these, we caught every single fragment in the gel. So you get a really good picture of just the nasty devastation. And this 22, you can see the extra speed made a difference. I don't know how well it comes through on camera, but I mean, it flung them fragments out like crazy. And then again, your base keeps on trucking. Now this one actually stayed facing forward and didn't have any kind of yaw to it. A nice straight line goes on out here. That one looks like it may be about 1/4 of an inch short of that other one, but I think both of them are still at that 12-inch mark. But let's check in and see what we did get on the penetration. So actually the one here out of the G27 is at 12.5 exactly, and then the one out of the G22 is about 12 1/8. It's a little tiny bit over 12. And we'll give it 12 1/8 because it's every bit of it. And then as far as the fragmentation, it goes anywhere from about 1.5 inches all the way out. Looks like the furthest fragment is out here at about 4 inches. So between 1.5 and 4 inches, this whole field right here is just a field of shrapnel. I think you got a nice clear picture of these, but we'll bring you in closer here. I mean, just look at that. That one there is the one that had a little bit more velocity, and you can see the different shape. You can see what I mean there. It kind of like bursted out and just big old burst, whereas this one did burst out. I mean, it's no joke, but it looks like it's got a little bit different action going on there, probably from the little bit less speed. But like I said, you can see every single fragment we caught, and just look at that. I mean, that's just nastiness right there, y'all. Keeps on trucking, and then there's your little base discs right there, both of them. All right, let's check out what's left of these projectiles, y'all. So as you can see, both of these things, they look exactly the same. They do the same thing every single time. That's one thing you can say about this ammo, is it is incredibly consistent. It does the exact same thing every time. As you can see, the action it uses, it basically just rips the material off. It rips all of the copper off from around that big giant deep cavity there, and just slings it as fragments, and then sends this little disc on trucking. I marked this one when I pulled it out just so I would know this was the one out of the G22, this was the one out of the G27. But like I said, you can't tell any difference. I mean, it loses everything, and you're left with basically the same here, these little discs. But let's measure them and see how much we actually did lose. So they started at 60. This one here out of the G27 is at 41.0, so 41 grains there. This one out of the 22 is at 40.8, so both of them right at around 40, 41. So what, it lost a third of its material, so a full third of its material is what breaks off and goes into a fragment field. Now, as far as the measurements, it's not going to be any bigger than what it started. It may be a little just because it's jagged, but as you can see, 405 there, 400 there. And then as far as the thickness of this little disc here, you got 191. Should be basically the same on this one here too. So as far as diameter, 408, 407, and then the thickness on the disc here is 181. So basically identical size from both of these. And there you have it, y'all, the Liberty Ammo Civil Defense in 40 Smith & Wesson. Really nasty stuff here. Just basically exactly what I expected to see. Pretty much exactly what you see with all of their calibers. Just a nasty, nasty energy dump right when it goes in. And this piece here keeps going to that magical 12 inches that everybody looks for as a minimum. So it does exactly what it says, and it looks like it does a fantastic job. Again, though, I don't know what my hang up is on it. I'm not sold completely as far as switching my ammo all over to this, as far as my carry stuff. I don't know what it is, but either way, this stuff did an absolutely fantastic job out here today. All right, y'all, I'm gonna call it right there for what was another test of some fancy, fantastic 40 Smith & Wesson ammo. Really, what else is there to say besides look at that jelly block? I mean, that civil defense stuff, if nothing else, it makes an absolute fantastic looking presentation in these gel tests for sure. Just a crazy amount of energy dump right when it enters, all that just bunch of shrapnel field right at the beginning, and then sends the core of it just keeping on trucking out to the 12 inches. So this stuff definitely does what it says. Like I say, it does exactly what it says. It's incredibly consistent from what I've seen, even from caliber to caliber. Again, I just don't know what my hang up is on it. I'm just not totally sold on it for whatever the reason. I'm just a kind of I guess I'm old fashioned, if you want to call it that. I just like these lead rounds that get expansion and penetration. But let me know what y'all think about it. Do any of y'all out there carry these in 40 Smith & Wesson? Do you carry it in another caliber? What do you think about it? Do you train with those, or do you train with something else? That's another thing I guess I'm kind of hung up on. You know, you're carrying these really, really lightweight projectiles, but then would you train with something much heavier? Let me know down in the comments what y'all's experience with it is. If you did enjoy the video, reach down and hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you got them notifications on so you don't miss anything when I upload it. If you happen to be doing some shopping, check out those affiliate links I got in the video description. Anything you buy using any of those links down there, I get a kickback from them towards the channel, so I really appreciate that. Like I always tell you, I appreciate all my Range Gang members and every single one of y'all out there for supporting the channel by watching these videos, hitting that thumbs up, leaving me some comments down below. All of that stuff really does help, so I really appreciate that. I've gotten a lot of good stuff done out here today, but I think I got time and room to squeeze one more in out here. Tons of really good stuff headed y'all's way, so be on the lookout. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay prepared, and I'll see you soon.